Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of September 2025. I hope you are well. I'm going to be using the Tarot of the Divine for you today. Before the reading begins, if it resonates with you and you want to plunge into it a little bit more deeply, there will be an extended at the end that you can access, I think, via the first link in the description box below. That link will take you to Selfie. Alternatively, you can come join Circle. That's my private community. It's called the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. You can hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people, and we have everything from expert practitioners in their field, astrologers and all sorts of things, to absolute newbies who've only just stumbled across this area of life, and something for everybody in between, I think. So we also run classes over there as well. So if that might be something that's of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Right, let's flip the camera around here, Gemini, because I feel like it's been a hot minute since I checked in with you. It hasn't, but I feel like a lot's happened in the time since I spoke to you last. So let's get straight on with this and see what needs to come up for Gemini. 3 cards for Gemini, please. So we have the 4 of Cups on its side there. What about current energy, please, for Gemini? Right, we have a card that has erupted out. It is the Fool. But we also had the Temperance card that showed up there too. Now, I'm going to show it to you, but I'm not going to include it because I think there's an implication that there's something that's been healed in you that really quite profoundly. It's almost like the Temperance card wants to acknowledge that it's there. It's almost like the necessary preconditions for the Fool energy even emerging in the first place is that something of a balancing force has been applied to your sense of self. But anyhow, let us continue. What's coming towards Gemini, please, for September? We have the Ace of Cups. That's absolutely beautiful. And the Page of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Now, this is significant because we have 3 cards which, in their own unique ways, in different areas, speak to new starts, new beginnings. I'll get the clarifying deck out here. Ooh, getting goosebumps as well. And what's funny about this is it seems to be happening in a way that you didn't expect. I'm not quite sure why I'm getting that feeling from these cards that are on the table, because I am quite sure that you've been working towards your own, state of personal healing and whatnot. And mayhap it is that some of you have also had, big plans that you're looking to bring about. But there's something rather unexpected about the direction that this is taking. It's almost like you're getting what you want, but you're getting it in a way that you didn't expect. So let me just get the clarifiers out on the table, and then we'll speak to these angled new beginnings. Tell me about the 4 of Cups, please. We've got the Lovers card. That's Gemini in the Major Arcana, right there. I've got the 4 of Cups. Thank you. And we have the 7 of Swords. Tell me about the Fool, please. 8 of Pentacles in reverse. And another reversed card, which is the Page of Pentacles. Tell me about the Ace of Cups, please. Beautiful. Emperor, 8 of Swords, and the Judgment card at the bottom of the deck. So we've got a spread of different energies going on here, but somehow there's a cohesive narrative that seems to run them all together. And again, it's that state of kind of bursting through in a way that you didn't anticipate. We can see it here in the 8 of Pentacles. We can see it in the Page of Pentacles. We can see it in the Emperor and the 8 of Swords as well. Like, you feel to me like you've been fighting for something. Now, I don't necessarily mean a cause, although maybe that might apply to you. I'm talking about fighting for some sort of level of inner truth, right? That you've been trying to access in order to bring about some sort of change in your circumstances. Now, there may be material circumstances, they may be mental and emotional, spiritual circumstances, actually. And you've been putting in an awful lot of effort in a particular direction to create a particular outcome for yourself, right? So that could be a material one. It could be that you want to move house, or you want to, change job, or, increase your income, something like that, right? It could be some sort of aspect to that. It could be, for others of you, entirely emotional, in so much as there is something that you are recognizing is stuck in you, and there's a way in which you are wanting to create a sense of space and freedom around what has been representative of stuckness for you. Just should add, there's 1,500 other different ways in which this could be showing up for you, so please do take it as it resonates to you. But it's like the direction, the trajectory that you thought that you were on, that you've been putting so much effort into, is now getting a surprise conclusion, surprise healing from maybe an intervention that you didn't expect, or some sort of breakthrough on levels right across the board. Now, the feelings that I had about these cards straight from the off was this kind of surprising resolution, this surprising breakthrough that you're making in a way that you didn't expect. Like I said, it's fundamentally underpinned by these cards here, and I was talking about this even before these came out. It really doesn't undermine any of the effort that you've put in, but because I think that the effort that you put in was actually a necessary part of this part here, of the way that this all plays out. There's an ease running through here, Gemini, and I think it's the ease that you didn't expect. You've expected things to be hard, you've expected them to take a long time, you've expected to have to challenge yourself on all sorts of levels to get to this place where ease is possible, whatever ease means to you in this instance, right? And you sort of popped out sideways. So, let me get my numbers to lie here. So I've got something to fiddle with. We start over here with the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups is a foundational level card. And it's not always necessarily a comfortable one. Sometimes we can be talking about rejection, we can be talking about abandonment issues when this shows up here. A sense of not having what we need, or perhaps not even being offered what we need. But when it's in the reverse, it speaks to gratitude. Now, looking at this card presenting like this, there's a sort of neutrality about the energy which says it can be either way. Maybe we've caught this card in the act of turning from a state of feeling like you don't have what you need, and that maybe you don't even know at this point what it is that you need, to a state of gratitude for what you have. It's like this thing here, this foundational level energy around the idea of emotional stuff has been something that has been being scrutinized by you because of the emotions that have flowed from it. So there's a desire to build in a different direction than the Four of Cups in its upright might necessarily suggest was available to you, right? You've been aware enough to be able to see that. But there's been something about the mechanics of the process that seems to have been eluding you. Now, I said here we've got the Lover's card at the bottom, right there, that represents the sign of Gemini. And interestingly enough, it's about passive manifestation for me, where I see the Magician as a much more active representation of manifestation energy, right? We're literally combining will and all the aces on the table, that are available to us, and then channeling down like the energy of the universe to create something actively. Where the Magician's, where the Lovers is concerned, it's much more about getting in alignment with where the energy is trying to take you, right? Not resisting it, finding that state of flow. And we're back to these same words that I'm using again, flow and ease. It's like you you could feel it being close, but you couldn't quite work out the mechanics of how to get there. And this Seven of Swords feels like a deep analysis that you've been trying to do, but I feel like you've been trying to do it head first and then hard. Because a card number 7 is always about, in some way or another, the pursuit of the truth. 7's a highly spiritual number. It's got some significance in occult study too. But we have swords, so it's the workings of the mind, it's communication, it's expression, it's the way that we think as well as the way that we speak. And it's recognizing that there are things that are wonky here. You know, even look at the way that the swords are divided on the card. We've got 2 swords in one hand, then 3 swords in the other, and then another 2. There's almost like a vacillation. It's a vacillation or oscillation. I don't know. It's an elation anyway, right? Between the energy of the 2 of Swords and the 3 of Swords in this pursuit of the truth. We're trying to look for the things that we can't see. We're trying to find the blind spots. And in doing so, going backwards and forwards over the pain of a situation. Right? We're looking for cold, hard facts here that would explain something about your emotional state. Let me see, we go from 2 of Swords to 3 of Swords to 2 of Swords to 3 of Swords to 2 of Swords. Backwards and forwards. And I don't think that you would have kept this up so long if you weren't looking for a truth here somewhere. And obviously, in the going backwards and forwards over that which has caused you some sort of pain, which is generally what happens when the swords intersect with the heart, as per the 3 of Swords that we're so familiar with, right? Gemini, you've been like a dog with a bone on this one. And I'm not sure if part of the issue that you've been having is that you've been trying to think yourself into a flow state. Now, that would not be an unusual thing for a Gemini to do. You're an air sign. It's about processing information. It's about looking for information. You know, Gemini is a lot about integration of perspectives. And here, there's an internal fact-finding mission that is looking for reasons why. And it's reasons why you feel the way that you do, but you're using your head to try and come to that conclusion, ostensibly so that you can get to this flow state that you know is close. Like it feels like it's sitting at the other side of an invisible veil, so such that you can kind of see it, you can perceive it, but you can't quite make contact with it yet. Where's my other deck? Let me get the wild unknown out here. And this is rendering the 4 of Cups neutral because you're robbing it of its power in the best possible way in terms of what it represents with regard to things like rejection and abandonment issues and not wanting what you have or not having what you want. You know, these kind of conceptual things that you're coming backwards and forwards over. You know, there's a lot of questioning why. What does it mean? What is this about? There's some deep scraping of the psyche going on here, Gemini. And there's enough activity going on in there that it's neutralizing that, we might say, more negative expression of the card. But until you hit that flow, it's not getting its reversed interpretation either, which is to say gratitude, right? Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. The card that is showing up, cards actually, the card that is showing up to show us how we are hopping from here to here is the 6 of Swords. In some way, it is a step back. Now, Gemini can sometimes tie themselves up in knots, right? It's no mistake that the 8, 9 and 10 of Swords are Gemini cards, right? I think if you feel into the Gemini experience, you can see how those things would happen, right? And it's almost like the level of self-awareness that you have been demonstrating is actually the thing that has been causing you the issue. Because you know the fucking answer is in there somewhere. But you've been using the wrong organ to find it. Right? There's been heightened mental energy as a response to an emotional issue. And the key here has been to step back from that. You know, the Seven of Swords to the Six of Swords would represent a stepping back in the cycle. But it also represents, in its own way, a movement away from what is sticky and difficult. Right. Now you'll notice that we have the Ace of Cups sitting at the bottom of the deck here. I don't think there's any coincidence in that at all, because this is shifting the processing from head to heart. And it's showing us that there is, you know, there are really deep and powerful emotions associated with what it is that you are trying to understand. But at the same time, the processing is not cognitive, it's emotional. That's what these cards are saying to me here. They're like, this is the problem that's been caused here. Almost like the cognitive processing has been acting as a barrier to you actually feeling the thing. Now, I have Moon conjunct Mercury, and those are both in Leo, so it's not Gemini, but it functions quite similarly to a Gemini moon. And one of the things that I notice about myself, and I notice it in people who have Gemini moons, like my son, I'm thinking, you know, off the top of my head, is that we get so stuck in the analysis, so stuck in the different perspectives. You know, this is not the answer, this is not the answer. We're still looking for the answer everywhere, that we kind of forget that the whole point of the emotional process is to feel it and then release it. Just let it go, right? The cognitive understanding, I think, is something that comes as a natural byproduct of that process, rather than trying to force the emotional acceptance of whatever we're feeling through hardcore head work. Do you see what I mean? So it makes sense then why this shift would have happened so unexpectedly for you, and not in the direction that you thought it was going to take, right? Because we've stopped being, you know, furiously thinking about all of these things and going, oh, actually, maybe if I just let myself feel it, maybe I just let myself go through it. Because there's an honouring of emotions that goes on with that process, Gemini. And it all makes a lot more sense in retrospect when you don't have so much of the emotional intrusion going on your cognitive processes. Like I said, like the cognitive flows from the emotional processing, not really the other way around. It can work to a point, but then it tops out. Right, and then there's nothing that we can do with it. It's just kind of there, and it's just kind of stuck. And I think that's probably that point that you've reached, is the topping out. So if we step back from that and go, okay, well, this is kind of messy, and it's kind of emotional, and it's all right that I'm feeling that. Suddenly, it seems to have come in sideways, the very thing that you were looking for, because you gave yourself the grace, you gave yourself permission to experience it without without judgment, is what I was going to say there, right? Just let it flow through you. So when we come into your energy, current energy, we've got the Fool. And the Fool has arrived not by way of the hardcore work that we've put in, right? As I said, mastering self, which is what the Eight of Pentacles is about, is grinding away to become a master at something, in the way that I see you grinding away over these 7 swords. Right? And the Page of Pentacles going, this is valuable work, and I must continue to do this, I must be dedicated to it. Like, the hard work that these 2 cards, in their own different ways, imply, have not been the breakthrough moment for you. It's actually been knowing when to take your foot off the gas with it. Give yourself a bit of space to breathe, a little space to feel rather than thinking. And I think it is entirely possible for some of you that defaulting to thinking first. I mean, you're an air sign, you're a Gemini, right? So it's always going to be a very, very strong energy for you. And I wouldn't, in a million years, try and cast aspersions over how important that energy is. But it's recognizing where the information comes from, right? This Eight of Swords says a lot, I think, over here. And we'll get to that shortly. But this is a Gemini card right here, Jupiter in Gemini, if I recall correctly. And it says very clearly that too much thinking is a bad thing, right? Too much thinking will put us into a place where we don't know where we are, what we're going on. We feel stuck, we feel trapped, we don't know how to get out of it. It is quite simply the cage that we build for ourselves in our own mind. And then the added difficulty comes along because the very thing that we need to analyse our thinking is the thing that we're thinking with, the brain. The gears of the machine start to seize up very, very quickly when we're in that state, right? And frustration starts to come in, and maybe even, getting to a place where we start, mentally self-flagellating and being like, well, why can't I come to the answer of this? It's there. I know that it's there. I can feel it's there. It's more about managing where the information is coming from and managing through discernment to work out what action is required when, what process is required when. Because, like I said, the way this just seems to have popped through almost unbidden at the point where you stopped resisting the feeling, at the point where you stopped forcing the thinking mechanisms and just allowed. Even as far as saying, do you know what? I don't have the answers yet, and that's okay. Which is absolutely what I could see coming up between the Fool and the Ace of Cups. I have feelings about that, and that's okay. Not everything has to be handled instantly. I think mutable signs, particularly mutable air, like you're used to arriving at solutions very fast. Giving yourself the grace, giving yourself the space to say, that's all right, it'll come through in its own time, almost has delivered the answer to your lap. And maybe it is that whatever's been going on that has led up to this point right here is representing the end of a particular cycle that you've been in for quite a long time. Now, it's interesting that Gemini should be in your Gemini, hello, behave. Uranus should be in your sign right now, and we've got that kind of sudden solution energy starting to show up in your readings and coming from unexpected places, right? Because Uranus and Gemini was never ever going to be, your thinking just sped up. Or you got some sort of, divine flashes of intelligence information that's coming cognitively through your mind and then elsewhere. It's the stuff you don't expect. It's the broad side. I feel like wherever Uranus is showing up in our life, it's never what you think it's going to be. And to the extent that if it is possible for you to imagine that there is a possibility that Uranus in your sign might show up then that's probably more likely and not the way that it's going to happen, because that sudden intervention by Uranus is designed to be the broadside, and I'm feeling you being broadsided by this energy here. It's almost like you've discovered a switch that allows you to flip between brain processing first and emotions. So, this reminds me of that scene I always used to make us chuckle in God, what was it? It wasn't Goldeneye, it was Tomorrow Never Dies, the Bond film. Elliot Carver, the evil genius news mogul person. Turned out he was actually like creating crises so that he had stories to sell, right? And he had this battle sub. I think it was a submarine, it was a ship or something like that, and it literally had a button that said peace and war on it. And you know, as soon as they decided they were going to engineer this crisis, they flipped it to the war setting. And I was like, do they really have buttons like that on a ship? Like, I don't know. But having newly discovered the button, the peace and war button, and discovered that it's possible to flip it, seems so very, very revelatory that it's kind of catapulted you in a Uranian way forward to a place that you've been trying to get to for the longest time, didn't know how, couldn't find the answers to how, and now suddenly you're there. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? You know, there could be something to do with the eclipses going on here too. September has two. We have a lunar eclipse in Pisces near the beginning of the month, and we have a partial solar eclipse in Virgo towards the end of the month. I think it was about the 21st, 22nd of September. And we know that there are, not only are there huge karmic shifts that go on during that time there, but also that it is possible for us to be catapulted forward at warp speed during that time, where we have, you know, endings on steroids and beginnings on steroids. It means kind of running through the liminal space between is something that can happen very, very quickly, and in a way that, quite frankly, might startle us. And I think that's where you are, Gemini, because there is such a valuable lesson that you are learning here in September. And I think that the lesson here, because we've already seen you kind of arriving at a place that you've been striving for and didn't expect to get to, so on and so forth, you know, as I've already said, right? Here in September comes the bit that you like. And the bit that you like is getting all of the answers for things, right? Now, bear in mind that you've newly discovered this peace war button. You've newly discovered that you can flip it at will. And as I was saying before, now comes the point of cognitive deconstruction and cognitive understanding of what has just happened. I mean, I feel like this is taking your emotional... what's the word that I'm looking for? Maybe emotional vocabulary. Maybe that's the thing that I'm looking for. Is taking it up to the next level, because there's something that you're tapping into here that is almost like a bottomless well. Now, the Page of Pentacles is here. We've already seen the Page of Pentacles. He was showing up over there. He indicates new starts. The Ace of Cups indicates new starts. The Fool indicates new starts. But we have fire with the Fool, or air, depending on how you look at it. We have water with the Ace of Cups, and we have solid, tangible steps forwards in terms of investment of energy and time and all that kind of thing with the Page of Pentacles here. I mean, sometimes he speaks about the value of things as well, right? Newly discovered value of things. So here we have an initiating energy of, well, I've found the button, I can flip it, I can understand that information can come through not just my head, but also through my heart. And if I allow it to run its course in the way that it wants to, rather than backing it up by trying to understand it ahead of experiencing it. Here the processing can begin. Now the Judgment card often shows up when we're making big life-changing choices, right? Big life-changing decisions, rather. It's something that changes the trajectory of our lives, and we don't necessarily always see that ahead of time, right? It's only really in retrospect we can look back and go, well, our decision changed everything. It didn't really. It's it, but it did. But the Judgment card can also talk about the past, right? It can talk about the point that we arrive at where, you know, the past is resurrecting in front of us, and we can see a new way to engage with it, right? It isn't necessarily about old people coming back into the picture or anything like that. It's got this retrospective motion of allowing us to analyse our decisions from a different place than we analysed them at the time that we were actually making them. And I think this is a really important aspect of what's happening for you here, because we've got this new discovery of value, right? In what? In past decisions that we've made. Seeing now through the lens of the Ace of Cups, where we feel first and then allow the processing to come afterwards. Because the Emperor is about creating order. Ultimately, that's what he talks about. I mean, there's many other things. He's a warrior, he's a figurehead, he's, there's a very definite, the buck stops here with the Emperor, because, he's top of the chain of command and whatnot. But it's also about sovereignty, and it's also about having a personal order that may not necessarily be in alignment with what everybody else is doing, and that's absolutely fine. But the Emperor here is helping you make order of what has been ultimately, up until this point, something that's felt like a sticking point to you. Because I don't feel like the Emperor is putting any value judgment on whether this information comes through heart or head. All he's really interested in is the efficiency of making this work properly. So if it's coming via the Ace of Cups, that's absolutely fine. It's not a problem. If it's coming by the Ace of Swords, absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. Right? All the information is valuable. But are we efficiently processing it, or are we causing ourselves to spiral into this state here? I think he's helping you take ownership of not just what you've been struggling with recently, but seeing a lot of other things in the past in a very, very different light. And it's something that feels like it's got embedded within it a much lighter feeling. There's something that you can carry around in a much lighter way now, because it's been processed in the right order, and the feelings that you were trying to stem up for as long as it took for you to be able to cognitively process them, are now loose, free, and flowing without the need to understand them first. Like I said, it feels like there's a cascade of information coming to you this month, Gemini. And all of it is tweaking your perspective, but more importantly, it's tweaking the way that you process information. It's tweaking the way that you look at yourself and look at your emotional state. It's like being given the answer sheet to an exam that you've been struggling with for decades. Decades and decades, maybe a never-ending fucking one. And you're going through this answer sheet and you're like, oh, holy shit. Oh, holy shit. Yes, I see that. Oh, I got that one right. That's good. But I had this, I got really, really stuck on this one. Of course the answer is that. You know? One of my special interests, right? It's not really a special interest. I love words. I really, really love words. So I love word games, right? And I have a problem with that sometimes if I'm not disciplined about it. There was a point when my two eldest were really, really young. I used to drop them at school and then go get the newspaper, The Guardian. And I wouldn't allow myself to start the housework until I had completed both the crosswords and The Guardian every morning. So sometimes I go and pick my daughter up from nursery at lunchtime. I hadn't done a single fucking thing except stare furiously at these crosswords and whatnot. My latest thing is Wordle and the spelling bee. And the thing that that feels really strong here is that staring and staring and staring and staring at a 7 letters. And trying to reap as many words out of those 7 letters as you possibly can. And then getting stuck, hitting a plateau and being infuriated and all that kind of thing, right? And then putting it down and going to do something else, I don't know, cooking dinner or whatever it is, and then coming back to it later. And the words just singing off the circle at you. And you couldn't see it before. You were locked in on something else, I think. But you come back with fresh eyes and you're like, ha, there you are, Pangram, lovely. Do you know what I mean, Gemini? Like, but you feel like you can take this and apply it to your entire life. There's a real levity of spirit, lightness of spirit, but something that feels really quite joyful in the experience. This is amazing. Right, I'm going to go over to the extended now. I'm going to dig into this a little bit deeper. So if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Circle, you can do that on Selfie. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. If that's not your bag, if that's not what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. It's a really big month for breakthroughs. I wonder if it's because, excuse me, Gemini stationing retrograde. Mayhap, that may well be it. So like, you know, really potent energy when any planet stations, whether it's direct or retrograde. Feels like it's it feels like it's a really, really good month for you, Gemini. I'll be honest. A really good month, and there are not a lot of signs for whom I've been able to say that this month is at the very least it's just more of the same than they've been dealing with for a while, but this is excellent. All right, so I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.